Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have Rolling Gunner, a Japanese bullet hell doujin that just released on the Switch. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Rolling Gunner, from developer Project Rolling Gunner and on the Switch, publisher Mebius, originally released on PCs in Japan in 2018. At the end of February, we get this version, the Switch release, but it's only currently available in Japan. There is plans for a Western release, but there aren't any release dates just yet, so you'll have to be a little bit patient, but it is coming to the West. So, diving into the menu, we see that we've got a couple different ways that we can go and practice the game. Not really so much even like different modes to play. There's the main game start mode, but you also have the novice mode, which is basically a super easy version of the game, and then training mode where you can experience different parts of the games with different setups that you yourself can set. And that's basically what we have for game modes. So when we dive into the game itself, we do have this mode select, and there are 3 different modes you can play. The casual mode, which is the easier remix of the game, the original mode, which is the balanced remix, and the expert mode, which is of course the more difficult but also the high scoring version of the game. So we'll play it in casual mode to just show it off, and then we're taken to our fighter select. So in the game we go and play the RF-42R, and there's a different letter there, Stork. There are 3 versions. Starting from the top, we've got the RS, the Super Stork. This one is the fast version with a relatively narrow straight shot. The regular Stork, which is balanced for both speed and how wide its attack is. And then we've got the attack Stork, which is slower but has a much wider attack. So the one I actually like the best is the Super Stork, so that's what I'll be showing off in our gameplay today. Once we select our fighter, then we go and get this launching cutscene, and there are these really neat cutscenes thrown in between all the stages throughout the course of the game, and it's one of the things that I really enjoy about this game. Is this is a game that I really enjoy. It's a lot of fun to play. You might not enjoy it as much if you're not a fan of bullet hells, but it's one that's worth trying. So unlike your standard bullet hell though, it doesn't have a vertical scroller. This one is actually a horizontal scroller, which is my personal preference, so I'm totally down with that. So we have the ability to shoot, of course, but we have this option that rolls around the ship as you move. So if you're using your rapid fire shot, then it will face opposite the direction of your current button presses. So you move to the right, your option, which is actually called the rolling gun, will move to the left of your ship, and then if you go the opposite direction, vice versa. So you can use that to attack enemies all around you. Then if we hold down the main fire button instead of tapping it or using the rapid fire, then we go and get this fire mode, which is the gunner mode shot. The first stage is relatively short. We've already made it all the way to the first boss. So here we can go and show off a little bit of the features that we have. So we also have bombs, and I've been using it does have an auto bomb system on some of the difficulties, so that's been getting employed. But we also have this awesome power-up system. So if we use the same button that's our bomb, when we have 1,000 items collected, and it'll display that in the bottom as well as energy around the ship, we can go into what is called Power-Up Mode. In Power-Up Mode, we deal more damage, and we also get more point counters. If we collect enough, which is just basically 10% of the meter, we're able to go into limit release mode, where you can release the limit once you've collected enough of the inner meter, the red one that you see. So there's one of those awesome between stage cutscenes that I was talking about. And you'll have an even more powered up version of your shot, which can collect big points. So under normal circumstances, you only get the first and the second of those items shown there in the stage clear information. But if you're in the limit release mode, then you'll collect the larger point options. So now that that's come to an end, we have to work to build our and enter our power-up mode. We also have a base bomb that we can use. Like I said, there is an auto bomb, but it's a weaker version of the bomb. If you happen to go and use it yourself, you get a much more powerful one. I'll just demonstrate right now, where it actually has quite a long duration. It's really like awesome to watch. And those are the basics for what we have in Rolling Gunner. So it all centers around using your gunner mode as kind of a focus fire, as well as building up items so we can get to the point where we can use the power up and the limit release system. So power up and limit release. Oh, when you do that, you also convert all the shots that are on screen into point items as well, so like you can definitely score big points that way. And ultimately, that's the way that like this game is it's one of those shoot 'em ups where like you can get really good at using the system and be able to just score attack at trying to go and set bigger and bigger scores. A lot of it would be knowing when and where to save up and use your power up, as there are certain areas where you'd be able to go and score much bigger items and get much higher points. So, like learning the stages, learning how best to optimize your playthroughs would go and be the one really satisfying way to play the game. I'm not necessarily sure if it's so much the game itself or if it's more the Switch, but I have encountered a few sections where there are issues with slowdown, specifically on some of the bosses when the screen is like basically blanketed in bullets. So that's something to keep in mind, as like that could potentially impact your enjoyment of the title, but really, in the situations where like it does slow down, it's more of a help than it is a hindrance. There is a nice little option too where you can change the color of your hitbox indicator on your ship. In this case right now I'm using the default one, the green. But my problem with using the green is the rolling gun also happens to be the color green, so sometimes I get confused as to which one is my hitbox indicator and which one is the rolling gun. And that's basically what we have here in Rolling Gunner, served up for your enjoyment. So as far as minus flavors are concerned, really, like, I have a little bit of a hard time controlling the rolling gun when I'm in a rapid fire mode. So for most of the time that I've been playing, I almost always focus on using the gunner mode itself, so where I'm in more of focus fire mode rather than the rapid fire mode. Which is fine, just like a minor complaint. As far as plus flavors are concerned, first off, I just love the graphic design of this game. Those beautiful cutscene screen transitions, like this one that we're seeing right now, like just really add something to the game for me. And then there are also all the mech designs that we go and see. Our fighter that we're playing itself, all the enemy ships that we encounter, the bosses. The second one isn't very interesting in my mind, but the other bosses that we encounter throughout the game are really, really awesome. There's some mecha ones that I just love the design of. It's really satisfying to fight and see how they attack, as well as just their overall look. Then there's also the whole power-up and limit release system for your score attack, and I think it's really, really neat to have that kind of a system to be able to play around with and learn. Let's see if we can actually engage it again in this section. Almost there. Yes. So once we're in that mode, hopefully we can get into a situation where we can definitely use the limit release for big points, big money. Alright.
So yeah, those are definitely the two major plus flavors that I can go and give this game. So there we have it. This is definitely a title that's like well worth your time and attention. It earns a hearty recommend from Chef Fitaurus. So, like either if you have a Japanese Switch account, if you can go and pick this up as a Dojin Soft, or if you just want to wait for its Western release, I can highly encourage you to try out Rolling Gunner. Alright, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.